Welcome to Ohio FFA Career Connection. Throughout this series, we will explore just a few of the vast career opportunities in Ohio agriculture. Whether you want to work on a farm or in an office, laboratory, field, or classroom, FFA prepares us to be successful. Together, we'll get to know various professionals and learn how we can jumpstart our future careers while still in FFA. Let's get started. I'm glad to be visiting with Janelle Mead, the CEO of the Ohio Federation of Soil and Water Conservation Districts. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me, Janelle.
Thanks, Jake. I appreciate the opportunity.
Let's start off by having you share a little bit about your background. How did you come to work in agriculture?
So I grew up on my family's farm in Fayette County, Ohio. So it's kind of like about an hour southwest of Columbus. I've always been involved in agriculture. I was a member of the Miami Trace FFA chapter. I went to Ohio State and I have a degree in agricultural communications. From there, I went to work at Mycogen Seeds up in Eagan, Minnesota. They were a national seed corn company at the time. And then I came back and worked for Ohio State, did some stuff in state politics and went to work for Farm Bureau. Landed as a deputy director at the Ohio Department of Agriculture, and I was there for about 8 years. And now I work for the Federation of Soil and Water Conservation Districts.
That's very cool. So your career has definitely evolved. Would you say it was always specified in one area of communications, policy, and leadership, or kind of tell us a little bit about the areas in which you work in?
I would say that my career path has been very diverse. I didn't have a natural training progression. I didn't move from one position to another. I just took opportunities that came along that I had an interest in. And I actually think that has very well prepared me for at least the last 2 jobs that I've had, because I've had an opportunity to work with a bunch of different people and get some career experiences that kind of lent themselves to the next opportunity, which has been pretty awesome, but definitely not a linear path to anything.
So if you were in your high school spot right now, did you think you would be staying in Ohio or being in a career in communications and politics within agriculture?
So when I was in high school, I definitely did not want to stay in my hometown. I wanted to go off and try and do new things. So guess where I am? Right back in my hometown. And I think that's the great thing about having jobs and opportunities and to try different things. You always have the opportunity to come back home, but it's nice to spread your wings and fly a little bit. So, I'd say that I didn't anticipate that I would be in the kind of career that I am. I actually didn't even know that these kind of careers and opportunities were available when I was in high school. So I appreciate that I have the opportunity to share this with your FFA members, but definitely not something I would have thought of.
Yeah, let's talk about that FFA experience. So Miami Trace FFA chapter, Fayette County, a really prominent chapter in that area. What was your time like in that chapter? Were you involved in a lot of CDEs? What was your SAE? Tell us about your time in high school.
So I loved FFA. I still love FFA. I think it's a great opportunity for kids to get involved, regardless of your background. When I was there, I was my chapter's treasurer and our chapter reporter. So I had a lot of experience working with the other members in our chapter, but my SAEPs were, I took sheep, and then I also took some dairy cattle too. And I grew some sweet corn in my family's farm. And probably I haven't had sweet corn since I was in high school because that was really hot, but I did make a lot of money at it. It was a great opportunity to have some experience there. But I did do a lot of judging contests. I traveled a lot with our parliamentary procedure team. We were state champions twice when I was in FFA. Love Parley Pro. And then I did a lot of the judging contests through our local chapter with dairy judging and livestock judging.
Very cool. How do you think FFA prepared you for a career? Is there a certain skill set or a certain thing you were involved in that kind of was a pinnacle experience to developing you into the career spot you are in right now?
I think there are a couple things that FFA really helped prepare me. One, I think FFA does a great job of giving you those opportunities to walk into a room where you don't know people and say, hi, my name is Janelle, and we share an interest in something that connects us. And I think that that's something that has definitely paid off for me in my professional career all the way through, because that ability just to walk in and get to know people, we had a lot of practice of that as FFA members. So I think that was very helpful. The career path that I'm in now, I do a lot of meetings and I do a lot of work in the public sector. And I think that experience in parliamentary procedure and knowing how a meeting's supposed to run, to be prepared for that meeting in advance, and then to follow those processes has really helped me in my career path.
Janelle, tell us a little bit about your current primary responsibilities in your position as CEO.
So I'm the CEO of the Ohio Federation of Soil and Water Conservation Districts. You have a conservation district in each and every county here in the state of Ohio. And what we help to do is kind of coordinate them administratively, some of their administrative functions, as well as host several meetings for them throughout the course of the year. We're a resource to help them stay connected and communicating well with each other, and to help bring farmers into the district offices so that they can learn more about conservation practices and opportunities that they're available at their county level, at the state level, and at the federal level too. A lot of our urban districts are doing great work as well, with some urban agriculture opportunities, as well as just being good stewards of the environment and good stewards of the land through public projects as well.
Now, we always hear about soil and water conservation and how protecting our natural resources is very important in agriculture. Why is that specifically, and why does it apply to everyone in those rural counties and urban counties as well?
So, a long time ago, we used to say things like every day is Earth Day to a farmer. And I very much believe that. I think farmers want to be good stewards of the land and they want to do the right thing. Sometimes they just have questions and maybe don't know what opportunities are available to them. Sometimes they may have a problem and they need an agriculture technician to come out and talk with them, visit their farm, and see what they may need to do to help keep the soil on the land, keep their water clean, help with their livestock opportunities. So we really want to see farmers come into our office and talk to us about what they could be doing better on their operation.
Does most of the programming look like at the district level, providing education to farmers, or what does that process of sending technicians out to the field to look at issues and problems and solutions?
So sometimes it's education. Sometimes it's, hey, you should try an overwintering cover crop here. And then sometimes there's some cost sharing opportunities that local districts offer, or the state has some programs with H2 Ohio that are going on right now. And then the federal government within RCS, we partner with them quite a bit to help deliver their programs through EQIP and CRP and CSP.
Very cool. That gives us some perspective of what you guys as an organization and conservation organization do within Ohio. But a little bit about your background into this position. What education and training is needed for leading an agricultural organization?
So my background is in agricultural communications, and I think, it gives you some great skills as far as written communications, verbal communications, but I think the best thing in my position right now is just to be a really good listener and try to understand what problems are out there, what challenges we might have, and then see if we can't work together on some solutions. And I think, getting that opportunity just to listen to different people and travel quite a bit has really helped me figure out what direction we need to go in and some things that we need to do as a federation.
Now, what is the number one leadership tool or skill that you've learned in leading other people, whether that's county districts or some staff that you have on your team?
I think one thing is just to be a really good listener. I can't emphasize that enough. I love parliamentary procedure and I love the skills that I learned in parliamentary procedure. And one of the takeaways from that is to make sure that every voice gets heard and every side gets heard and every perspective gets heard. And so I think really listening and then, doing that communication skill of what I hear you saying is this is our challenge, this is our problem, this is our opportunity. I think is probably the best thing that anybody can do is to make sure you're really trying to understand and be empathetic when there's issues out there.
What are some of those voices and sides that you're hearing on a daily basis from your farmers, or maybe what other opposition sides do you get from the state of Ohio being an agricultural organization?
So, I think one of the biggest challenges that we have right now is water quality, right? That's something that we're all kind of talking about. And I think this population of people who doesn't necessarily understand what is going on farm and how we communicate to them what we're doing, and that when we do things, it's in the best interest of the farm, agriculture, the environment, water quality. Like we're taking all those things into consideration and trying to figure out those vehicles to communicate to people who maybe don't understand exactly what's going on farm every day is a pretty big challenge.
Many of our students are learning to be advocates through legislative work and meeting with their legislators, but just at a community level. What suggestions do you have for students who are going into those hard conversations, who are learning to be a strong advocate, but also learning to listen?
Yeah, so, I think sometimes We get very excited when people are frustrated or angry or maybe don't understand. And I'd say, one, don't ever back away from the opportunity to tell your story. Like, even if it's with a group of people that maybe don't want to hear, tell your story and tell your story. Like, don't just stick to the talking points or the things that people are trying to get you to say. This is your story. This is what you're passionate about. This is what you're interested in. Tell the things that you know and speak from your own personal perspective, because that carries so much volume, especially, when we go down to the legislature and we bring young FFA kids in and they're talking about the things that they know happen on their farm and the things that they're doing to go those extra miles and take those extra steps to preserve the environment. That means so much. So tell your story and never back away from the opportunity to do that.
That is some great advice for our members. More about your position. What do you enjoy most about your job? When you wake up in the morning, what makes you excited to go to work?
I love the people that I work with. I work with some very amazing, very talented, very smart people who really know their industry and know what they're doing. The past year has been pretty hard for me with COVID because we haven't been able to get together and have as many meetings and be in person as much as we'd like. And we're people. So the opportunity to get out and work with them is absolutely the best part of my job.
What is one misconception folks would have about soil or water conservation or your position as CEO?
I think sometimes people think that soil and water is just for farmers, just for agriculture. But we have some amazing urban districts that are doing some great work. And they do a lot of work with a lot of local businesses. Runoff is an issue on a farm. It's also an issue in your suburban shopping mall. And we can be a resource to you for both, depending on where you live and what the resources are within that district. So there's a lot of work out there. And if you have questions on the environment, on water, reach out to your soil and water district. They may be a great resource for you.
If you are a student and you're looking to get involved in just learning about conservation or agricultural practices, how could folks reach out to local districts or at the state level as well?
So absolutely reach out to your local district. That's going to be a great resource for you. And so it's going to be pretty close. For FFA chapter specifically, we host a contest called the Ohio Envirothon, which is a great way to learn more about aquatics, wildlife, soils. So I would invite every chapter to reach out to their soil and water district and see if they have a great competition in their area, and if that might be a good opportunity for your members as well.
What are some skills you have developed to help you excel in your career?
So I think one of the skill sets that I have that make things a little bit easier for me is I kind of sort things into buckets, like this is a really big problem, this is an emergency. And, a lot of times people want to react really quickly when they're in a high pressure situation. And I think one of the skills that I've honed over time is to not be knee-jerk reactive, to not immediately respond, but to put those things into this is the thing that I need to respond to immediately. This is the most urgent and the most pressing. And then these are the things that I can respond to a little bit slower, and to be really thoughtful and mindful when those high pressure times come around.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is prioritizing different things in our life, especially when you could be working on so many projects. So what does a day in the life of your job look like? What were you doing earlier today, or what does this afternoon look like?
So my days these days are a lot of Zoom meetings. And I think one of the things that's really nice is, we're a statewide organization, so we need to connect people pretty regularly. And I think the ability just to get everybody online and to say, hey, let's talk for a couple minutes about what's going on, and to think those things through has been really helpful here lately. We're preparing for a couple of big meetings coming up. We're preparing for the Farm Science Review. So a lot of that's been going on right now. Ohio will host our National Envirothon competition in the summer of 2022. So we're really excited to bring people in from all around the country and teach them a little bit about what agriculture and the environment is like here in Ohio. So there's been a lot of prep for that for today. So I think just reaching out to those districts and staying connected with them is what you see me do on a pretty regular basis.
You grew up in and around agriculture, and obviously you've learned a lot over the positions you've had in your career. What advice would you give to a member who is interested in ag, but don't feel like they're qualified for a position in leadership or being a CEO of an organization?
I would say just ask a lot of questions and surround yourself with some really smart people. I have had the opportunity to work with so many smart people throughout my entire career. And I think just that ability to ask questions and to really try to understand what was going on. When I came to ODA as deputy director, I really thought that I was going to be working with farmers and cows and pigs and corn and soybeans. But at the time that I was there, we had a dangerous wild animal program that we needed to work on. And that was not something that anything in my career path had ever prepared me for. But I did have the opportunity to surround myself with really smart people, veterinarians, people from our zoos who helped explain things to me. And I think that's a great example of how even when you don't know anything, get to know some smart people, ask them a lot of questions, job shadow, take a lot of trips, visit a lot of places, and just learn every opportunity that you have.
I love that. What do you think makes conservation and natural resources sustainability a very special industry, or maybe different from other careers in agriculture?
I think the people that I work with right now they're so cutting edge. They're always trying to do new things, experiment. I joke around a lot with my officers because I feel like they constantly have little science fairs going on their farm, because they want to say, hey, if I plant this cover crop on this day, and if I do this, what happens? And so they're in this constant state of learning. And I think to be with those people who are always trying new things and just trying to make themselves better is just an amazing opportunity for me.
What do you think students could do to start preparing for a career now? Is that going to work on a farm, getting an internship, doing research like your farmers are doing in the fields for their job? What does preparing for a career in this industry look like?
I think for me, the advice I would give for kids is just constantly look at those opportunities to try something new and do something a little bit better. I think, especially with the technology that we have today, it seems like the world is so connected. And I'm a part of a bunch of different soil health groups right now. And I follow a lot of our conservation districts on social media, and they're always trying new things. They're always experimenting. They're doing so many education programs with the people in their community. And I would say get connected with those things right now and learn as much as you can and ask questions of the really smart people.
Now, if you could leave one last thing for our students watching right now about your career, your educational journey, or the organization you work for, what would that be?
I would say always take advantage of the opportunities, because the opportunities to get involved in different judging contests, even if it's something that you think you maybe aren't interested in or won't be doing later in life, may give you that experience to try something new. If you have an opportunity to travel, definitely travel and see what agriculture is like in different states and in different countries, because what we do here in Ohio is so very different from what our counterparts do in other areas. So the opportunity to get on farm and see those practices and see what goes on is just amazing.
Now, your career has taken you all across Ohio. And of course, in being a leadership position, you get to oversee the different districts in the state and also that staff. Is there any cool travel experience or farm visit you've gone on that is like a pinnacle of your career that kind of encompasses your journey and be like, wow, stepping back, I'm happy I'm here?
Well, I think I've had a lot of opportunities to travel and see different things throughout the country and in other countries as well. So I think just that opportunity to see what we do differently is always a great adventure, and it teaches you so much. I think it teaches you to appreciate the things that you do here a lot more at the same time. But our districts do a lot of ag tours and a lot of field days. And I would say, follow them on social media and connect with some of those farmers that are in your community and get an opportunity to go on farm. Absolutely, if you have an interest in working in any specific kind of agriculture, find those mentors, find those opportunities to be with people who are experts in their field, and just be around them as much as you can.
Janelle, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. I know Ohio FFA members will be glad to learn about career opportunities within the soil and water conservation sector of the agricultural industry. FFA develops our potential and helps us discover our talent through hands-on experiences, which gives us tools to achieve real-world success. If you're interested in pursuing a similar career path to the one highlighted in this video, there's a couple ways in which you can get started. One option to dive in and learn more is through a supervised agricultural experience. While completing an SAE, you will cultivate valuable employability skills while gaining work experience as a volunteer, paid employee, or maybe even as your own boss. To learn more, talk to your ag teacher or visit saeforall.org. In addition, through career development events, you can put your knowledge to the test. Ohio FFA offers more than 40 CDEs. Here are a few CDEs that can help you further explore this career path. Ask your FFA advisor for more information about how to get involved. As FFA members, it's important for us to start making these connections and finding future possibilities that align with our interests. I hope that you enjoyed this episode of Ohio FFA Career Connection, which is made possible by Ohio Corn and Wheat. Thanks for tuning in.